question. How many of you have ever eaten an insect on purpose? Raise those hands high. How many of you are totally grossed out by the thought of eating insects? I'm not offended, please raise your hand. Cool. But for those of you who just raised your hand and might be ruining your day a little bit, did you know that the average American accidentally eats 1 to 2 pounds of insects every year of the food that they eat? Do you eat food? You eat insects. Sorry about it. My name is Shelby Smith, and I am the owner of Eat Crickets. I have been raising bugs and convincing people to eat them, varying degrees of success, since 2018. Believe it or not, did not grow up wanting to be a cricket farmer. I don't know anyone who does. I would love to be that person. That being said, I did grow up on a farm here in Ames, Iowa. Wanted nothing to do with Iowa, nothing to do with the farm. Luckily, I was pretty good at basketball, so I ended up earning a full scholarship to St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia, where I got a finance degree, went over to Ireland, kept playing, got a master's degree in finance. Worked as an equity derivatives trader, soon figured out, did not want to be in finance. Are you sensing a theme here? Things I don't necessarily want to do. So I ended up, after 3.5 years, handing in my notice, moving back to the farm. That's me in farm equipment, skid steer. I look terrified, there's a reason. That's my nephew, who was 4 at the time, and he would run circles around me. Needless to say, I was growing corn and soybeans with my dad. Definitely shouldn't have been doing that. Wasn't really interested. But it was better than investment banking. So here I was, my dad and I, we finished a harvest together, and we ended up getting a gift box full of maple syrup. If you guys haven't checked it out, go check them out. That then suggested the idea of a niche market, niche agriculture. What could I do? My parents never thought I'd come up with crickets, but here we are. So fast forward about 3 weeks, and I sent both my parents an article about a woman raising crickets for human consumption. 10 days later, I bought my first 10,000 crickets. These are my first 10,000 crickets. That's a 2-week-old cricket. I didn't know they were that small when I first got them. That's a whole different story that will not fit into 20 seconds. But let's just say that I learned how to raise crickets on YouTube, and that was as successful as I'm sure it sounds. The other thing that I had to figure out after I figured out how to raise these crickets, though, was how to cook with them. Anybody in here know how to cook with bugs? Cool, neither did I. You can learn too. So anyway, so figured out, not on YouTube, how to cook crickets, but I figured out by trial and error how to cook crickets, and then I had to figure out where the heck I was going to sell them. Ames has a really cool farmer's market director. Some of you in here are lucky enough to know her. Some of you aren't. Her name is Logine. I sent her an email. I said, hey, can I sell crickets at your farmer's market? And she sent me an email back and said, weird, but sure. This was my first farmer's market. I'm pretty sure that kid right there was telling me all the things about why he was not going to eat a bug. This girl right here, his sister, she was down for it. I will tell you, in 3 years of selling at markets and all of that, that's very common, 3 to 1, females to males who will try cricket for the first time. Males will be 4. Anyways, ended up selling out of every single cricket I raised in 2018, so I had to expand. I was raising those crickets in my dad's shop. I needed to build the cricket castle. That's my cricket castle. So that's the ribbon cutting. Be careful with those scissors, they're actually very sharp. That being said, and if you've seen my dad since then, he's got long hair and looks like a hippie, which is really weird for him. But anyway, so I expanded. 2019 was a really busy year for me, so I built that cricket castle. I bought this building on Main Street in Collins, Iowa. If any of you know where it is, brownie points to you. Ended up turning that into a licensed food processing facility. So then at that point, I could be on grocery store shelves, online store, all of those things. Little tiny town of less than 500 people. You think I'm really weird, but it's cool. So the other thing I did in 2019 is I ran out of crickets again. Even though I had my cricket castle, still needed more. Ended up bringing on 4 contract growers from 2019 to 2020. These were my first 2 guinea pigs. I love them very much. Sometimes I don't think that they love me, but it's okay. So they raise crickets for me. I provide the feed. I buy them from them and take them and process them into the final product. The other thing I did is I launched my online store, finally. I ended up shipping to all 50 states from the end of 2019 to, we'll call it March, this last year. Anybody in here from West Virginia? This is my point. This was my last state to get. It was West Virginia. Nobody goes in, nobody comes out. I'm totally convinced of it, but we finally got an order. So fast forward to the end of February of 2020. Landed on my first grocery store shelves, which was Wheatsfield. Had no idea what I was doing. Also brought on my 3rd grower. Cool. This is the end of February. The world has not fallen apart yet. Everything's great. 2020 became quite a challenge right about then. So I had tripled my supply chain, and then global pandemic set in. All of that being said, with all that happened, still ended up on 100 shelves across the U.S. at various different stores. As of today, I am in about 50 different Hy-Vees in 5 states, and all of those little specialty stores. I find them through various platforms. And at this point, you guys might be going, okay, this is all cool, but why would I eat crickets? So, high in protein, calcium, iron, B12, prebiotic fiber. All of that doesn't matter though if they taste like crap. I personally hate salmon. I know it's great for me, but it tastes like crap to me, so I won't eat it. So I make sure that all of my crickets are absolutely delicious. So my best sellers are my roasted crickets, smoky barbecue in particular. If you haven't tried one yet, there's bags of them over there. The very first question that I get from everyone is, what the heck do these taste like? Sunflower seeds or the crumbs at the bottom of the chip bag. If you have any mental problems with it, just think sunflower seeds and knock it back. Tell me if I'm wrong. That's what I have. The other thing I have, for those of you who are not into the visual of the whole bug, I have cricket bars. They have the cricket powder. They're ground up and mixed in. If you think you find a cricket in there, you are wrong. That is a sunflower seed. So, over there. I put lemon in the slide because lemon's my favorite, and this is my presentation, so my favorite goes in there, even though we ordered apple cinnamon. Apple cinnamon are good too. So I have the cricket bars for those who are a little more on edge about the whole bug thing. If you want to know how many crickets are in it, rampant in my industry that eating bugs are going to save the world and solve all of our problems. No, they are not. That being said, what I really do hope that I use bugs for is opening a wider conversation of when is the last time you thought about why you eat what you eat? And when is the last time you thought about how that food on your plate got to your plate? And above all else, please don't yuck my yum. If you've never tried my crickets, don't tell me how gross you think they are, because you don't know. You have no idea. Does anybody know what Pop-Tarts, Twinkies, and Spam all have in common?
Bugs.
No. Probably have bugs in them, but more importantly, foreigners find them absolutely disgusting. They're on the top 10 most disgusting food list. So don't yuck my yum if you've never tried it. At this point, those of you who raised your hand, has anybody changed their mind? Would you consider eating crickets now? I see some heads nodding.